Jonah was a prophet chosen by God, but when called to warn a wicked city, he didn't rejoice. He ran. Why would a man of God disobey God himself? This wasn't just fear, it was rebellion, pride, and inner turmoil. Jonah's journey begins with a decision that shook heaven and earth. Jonah fled, not because he feared failure, but because he feared success, that God would forgive his enemies. His heart couldn't bear the thought of mercy for the merciless. Torn between duty and resentment, Jonah ran, choosing silence over obedience. He couldn't accept a God whose love reached even the undeserving. In a moment that shook the heavens, Jonah turned his back on God's voice, not out of fear, but defiance. The sea breeze whispered conviction, yet he boarded the ship. A prophet, called to speak, chose silence. That single step away from purpose echoed louder than thunder across land, sea, and soul. Nineveh was no ordinary city. It was a kingdom soaked in blood, known for brutality, torture, and terror. Its name alone struck fear. Jonah wasn't just sent to strangers, he was sent to monsters. How do you preach mercy to murderers? His mission wasn't dangerous, it was unthinkable. No wonder he ran. The Assyrians were the nightmare of nations, ruthless conquerors who skinned enemies alive, impaled bodies on walls, and laughed at suffering. They worshipped violence, crushed hope, and showed no mercy. These were the people God asked Jonah to save. How do you carry a message of love to a people without souls? Jonah's heart tore in two, prophet to God, but patriot to Israel. Saving Nineveh meant sparing Israel's enemies. Could he betray his people to obey his God? Love for his nation clashed with the will of heaven. Jonah wasn't just running from God, he was running from the cost of compassion. Jonah's decision to board the ship to Tarshish was a bold defiance. He chose to flee God's calling, seeking escape across the sea. Heaven watched in disbelief as the prophet of mercy ran toward destruction. Jonah's rebellion wasn't just a physical journey, it was a soul-wrenching attempt to outrun divine purpose. As the ship sailed away, Jonah's soul screamed in silence. The waves rocked, but his heart thrashed harder. His disobedience weighed like chains, yet he stayed quiet, hiding from the guilt. He couldn't escape his conscience, no matter how far he sailed. Every moment of peace was a lie, he told himself. The sky darkened, waves roared. The storm wasn't just nature's fury, it was a divine response. As Jonah slept, oblivious to the chaos, the world around him raged in protest. The sea, betrayed by his rebellion, turned violent. The wind howled, God's wrath had awoken, and Jonah could no longer hide. As the storm raged, the sailors panicked, scrambling to save their lives. Waves crashed, thunder roared, yet Jonah slept soundly below deck, his conscience numb. The ship's peril was his fault, yet he couldn't face it. His silence screamed louder than the storm, an unwilling soul in the calm before the judgment. The sailors, desperate, cast lots, and Jonah's name fell. The truth erupted, he was the cause. With trembling hands, Jonah confessed, "Throw me overboard." In that moment, he faced God's wrath, not with fear, but surrender. His fate sealed by his own choices. His heart broke beneath the weight of judgment. In the face of certain death, Jonah's voice cracked, "This is my fault." His admission shattered the air, a prophet finally confronting the cost of his rebellion. The weight of his disobedience was clear.
He had led them into this storm.
Jonah's guilt, raw and undeniable, hung heavy over them all. The sailors trembled, knowing they were about to throw a prophet into the sea. To kill a man of God felt like an unforgivable sin. They hesitated, hearts filled with dread, torn between survival and their deepest fears. The storm raged louder, but their moral struggle was even more deafening. With the storm tearing at the ship, Jonah didn't fight. He embraced death, surrendering fully to the consequences of his rebellion. "Throw me overboard," he begged. His words weren't just a plea, they were a final act of acceptance, choosing destruction over fleeing God's call. A soul, broken, yet willing. The storm ceased, but Jonah's nightmare deepened as he sank into the abyss. The sea swallowed him whole, plunging him into suffocating darkness. Inside the belly of the beast, he was trapped, alone, consumed by guilt and despair. It was there, in the deep, that Jonah truly faced his soul's storm. Jonah's heart raced as a shadow loomed beneath the water. The great fish emerged from the depths, its massive jaws closing in. Fear gripped him. This wasn't salvation. It was another kind of prison, swallowed whole. Jonah felt the cold embrace of hopelessness. The depths of the ocean mirrored his own despair. Inside the belly, darkness consumed Jonah, suffocating him with isolation. The air was thick, the stench overwhelming. Every movement felt like entrapment. Time stretched endlessly as he sank into despair. In the silence, Jonah faced his deepest fears and the weight of his rebellion, trapped in both body and spirit. In the suffocating darkness, Jonah's soul cracked. Desperation fueled his prayer, a raw cry from the depths. God, I'm lost. I've fallen. Please, save me. His voice trembled, echoing off the walls of his prison. It wasn't just a plea for life. It was a plea for grace, redemption, and mercy. Jonah was thrust onto dry land, his body battered and covered in the sea's residue. Vomited out by mercy, he was given a second chance, reborn from the depths. The air felt different, every breath a reminder of God's grace. His journey had not ended, it had just begun anew. God's voice pierced through Jonah once more, calling him to Nineveh. This time, there was no hesitation, no escape. Jonah had been broken and remade. The rebellious prophet who once ran now stood with a humbled heart, ready to obey. God's second chance didn't just change his path, it changed his soul. Jonah's second chance was a gift of unimaginable grace. After rejection and failure, God's mercy offered him renewal. T wasn't just about avoiding death, it was about transformation. Second chances don't erase the past, but they allow redemption to rewrite the future, a chance to live with purpose and obedience. Jonah walked into Nineveh, the heart of evil, a prophet with nothing but a message of doom. 40 days, and Nineveh will fall. His words echoed through the streets, shaking the city to its core. Would they listen, or would their pride destroy them? Jonah's reluctant obedience held their fate. Jonah's words landed like fire on Nineveh's hardened hearts. Shock rippled through the streets as the people, the very ones who had oppressed nations, fell to their knees in repentance. They believed. They wept. Jonah had expected scorn, but instead, the city trembled with the power of genuine change. From the king on his throne to the beggar in the streets, Nineveh's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The king stripped off his royal robes, donned sackcloth, and declared a city-wide fast. Every heart bowed, humbling themselves before God, believing mercy could still find them, even in their darkest hour. Nineveh's repentance sparked the greatest revival the world had ever seen. A city known for its cruelty turned to God in humility and grief. From the richest to the poorest, every soul sought forgiveness. In that moment, God's mercy overwhelmed judgment, and a lost city found its redemption. Jonah sat, waiting for Nineveh's destruction, his heart burning with anger. He had delivered God's warning, but he wanted vengeance, not mercy. When Nineveh repented and the city remained standing, Jonah's fury erupted. The prophet of grace, now a man who hated mercy, couldn't understand why God chose forgiveness over wrath. Jonah's anger stemmed from his deep resentment. Nineveh, the cruel enemy, didn't deserve mercy. Jonah had hoped for their punishment, but God showed grace instead. The prophet's fury wasn't just at Nineveh, it was at God's boundless compassion, a reminder that mercy is for all, even those we deem unworthy. The irony was staggering. Jonah, a prophet of grace, mourned God's mercy. While he preached forgiveness, he couldn't accept it for his enemies. His anger revealed a deep, troubling truth. His heart was hardened by pride, unable to see that mercy is never a privilege, but a gift for all. God, in his mercy, grew a plant to give Jonah shade, offering him comfort. But when the plant withered, Jonah's anger flared again. God's lesson was clear. He controlled life and death, mercy and judgment. Jonah's attachment to comfort over compassion showed him how shallow his own mercy truly was. Jonah's rage over the withered plant revealed a deeper truth. His heart was filled with selfishness and pride. He cared more about his comfort than God's compassion for a city of lost souls. The plant's destruction exposed Jonah's struggle to grasp the true meaning of mercy. It's not for our convenience. God's question pierced Jonah's heart. You care about a plant, yet you resent my compassion for a city of 120,000 souls. Jonah's misplaced priorities were laid bare. God's love for the lost was immeasurable, and Jonah's inability to understand this revealed his struggle with divine mercy and human selfishness. God's final question hung heavy in the air. Should I not care about this great city? It challenged Jonah's pride, revealing his heart's disconnect from divine love. This uncomfortable question left Jonah, and all of us, confronting a truth. Mercy isn't ours to control, but God's gift to all. Jonah's story isn't just about a fish, it's a mirror to our own hearts. Who are we when God extends love to our enemies? His mercy challenges our pride and prejudices. Jonah's journey forces us to face the uncomfortable truth. True grace doesn't just forgive, it transforms everyone, even us. Jonah's story teaches us profound lessons. Mercy is limitless, available even for the most unworthy. Repentance restores and transforms, no matter the past. Second chances are a divine gift, never guaranteed, but always given. And calling, no matter how reluctant, reminds us that God's will is always greater than our personal desires. Was Jonah ever changed, or did he remain bitter? His heart struggled with God's mercy, unable to let go of resentment. Though he preached repentance, Jonah's journey reveals a prophet torn between obedience and pride. The story ends unanswered, leaving us to reflect. Will we embrace grace or remain unchanged? The book of Jonah ends unresolved, leaving the question hanging. Will we embrace God's mercy or cling to our bitterness? The answer isn't given because it's meant for us to answer. How will we respond when God calls us to forgive the unworthy, love the unlovable, and extend grace beyond ourselves? Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others. And of course, turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next inspiring video. We appreciate you being part of our journey.